and welcome to episode number 172 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
For any new brokeheads out there, the way we format the show is...
Shoes?
We cover comics, movies, TV, video games, and more through the news segment. And then we do a comic book highlight of the week right near the end after our Patreon shoutouts. But first, what happened to you this week?
Well, first I want to know about these shoes that we're formatting, because I need some new shoes. But this week, pretty uneventful after the holidays. We both work in the service industry, so the holidays end and we just die, and there's no hours, and it's relaxing. It's fabulous.
And you become even more broke.
And I become even more broke. Absolutely. I start digging into my vacation days already just to make my bills. Regardless, because we've had the extra time, something that we jumped on was Netflix's documentary, Making a Murderer.
Everyone was tweeting about it.
Yep.
Everyone on Facebook became a detective all of a sudden.
Of course.
Going on there, giving their opinion because the police is corrupt and this guy's innocent of everything in the world, which is what you thought as well.
I never said of everything in the world.
Of the main two things.
Yes.
And we ripped through it all in 2 days.
We did.
10 hours of it, or 11 hours.
Well, we watched the first 3 hours, and then it was time to go to bed, and I'm not gonna lie, I hate waiting for things. So I did do some Wikipedia searching and spoiled it for myself.
Because you have no patience.
I have no patience.
The whole time we were watching it. You just wanted to look it up.
I did. That's all I had to know how it ended. And granted, I do this with most stories. I skip to the end and read the last page, and then I go back to what I was reading. Don't shake your head at me with that condescending look. This is what I do. Because
I enjoy things properly, as they were meant to be enjoyed.
Okay, whatever. I just skip to the end. Anyway, great documentary if you guys haven't checked it out yet. I think it lives up to the hype.
I think so too. It does drag on a bit though.
Agreed. It doesn't need to be 10 hours.
7 of those episodes could have been condensed to 3 or 4. Especially that final one. There was a lot of fluff in there. But people are enjoying it, and they're engrossed in it, and they have their opinions. Just do know that there is way more evidence than what they actually showed on the documentary. Stuff that would have made Stephen Avery look not as favorable to the documentary, to the story. And that's what they're doing. It's an entertaining thing. They're telling it from a certain perspective, and that's fine. But before you go on and start signing petitions about this guy's innocent for everything, look at all of the evidence first. And if anyone hasn't seen Making a Murderer, the gist of it is this man, Stephen Avery, is initially set up to go to prison, and he ends up serving 18 years for a rape that he did not commit. So when they finally come out with this new DNA evidence saying he is not the rapist, they let him go, and he comes up with this $1 million, what was it, $46 million?
$36 million.
Something huge against the state, rightfully so. But then a year later, he is found, he is accused of murder. Mm-hmm. So that's where the whole documentary spins it into. Maybe they're trying to set him up again so that they don't have to pay millions of dollars, and not taking into the fact that he spent 18 years in prison, had a previous violent past, and all this other craziness that, maybe he did possibly murder someone, who knows. But you have to kind of watch it all and form your own opinion. Mm-hmm. Just look at it all first, enjoy the documentary for what it is, and get lost for a bit.
One thing I will point out, and we don't want to spoil this for anybody, because half the fun is sitting there next to somebody arguing with, did he do it? Did he not do it? That was a lot of fun, granted, the first 3 hours until I spoiled it. But one thing that I have heard, that now that I've heard it is a very good point, is this is also a great documentary for middle school or high school students to watch as well. There is a large portion of it that revolves around a 16-year-old who appears, and I believe that it is so, that they were pushed by police to say certain things and ultimately are paying for it for the rest of their life. So it is a good example of how not to let that happen, per se. It was a very unfortunate situation that this happened, but something that ultimately could have been prevented, I feel.
On a more personal note, you actually sound much better now.
Oh yes, my cold?
Yeah.
It is gone.
You fought it off?
I have fought it off with my Batman skills. No, I just worked through that bitch, and eventually it goes away. You just take, shots of Dayquil and you're fine.
As for me, I am going with coffee today, as opposed to the rum and cranberry juice that I normally do during the podcast.
And why is that?
I was just drinking yesterday, so I'm like, I don't want to drink 2 nights in a row. Like, not that I haven't done it, but
frequently.
But I'm like, let me give it a shot with coffee. I did a Let's Play earlier today, and coffee worked fine. And I did used to do these with coffee, so I'm like, let's go back to that. Give my liver a bit of a break there.
I've already had my 1 cup today, but I am now on cup number 2. Not a lot by Kelli standards, but by doctor standards, who said, yo, Kelli, you drink too much coffee. You better stop this or you will die. And I'm like, but I'll die without coffee. So really, do I want to die happy?
You know this is an addiction, right, doctor?
Like, and I'll be the first one to admit, yes, I have a coffee addiction at my worst. And I don't know if I want to tell you this, because I don't think you realized it was this bad.
You can tell me, because I know people that drink way more coffee than you probably
sure?
do. Yeah.
At my worst, I was drinking 4 cups a day, but they were all espresso.
Okay, well, that's pretty heavy.
That's pretty heavy.
Although I know a lot of the average American drinks 6 to 8 cups a day, I think.
And they actually say that's supposed to be healthy for you, but that's probably regular coffee and not espresso coffee.
Probably.
I'm talking lattes filled with milk and cream and sugar and just shit. Just filled with shit. And then all that caffeine. It was terrible.
Does it come out like in Monsters, Inc. when they're doing their coffee and it comes out like mud?
Just about.
Just concentrated
it was
espresso.
Pretty thick. Granted, I have reduced my amount of cream and sugar intake. Now when I get coffee at work, I do a little bit like skim milk with my espresso.
Yeah.
And like 3 packets of sugar. Instead of like white mocha and peppermint and all these delicious things. So I'm trying.
Coffee is another part where I can also feel tough around the soft people around me, because it's like I don't work in construction or anything. I sell comics. So, living in Florida, what was the coldest that it got at night? Maybe 56 degrees, possibly in the 40s. Okay, got in the 40s.
Like negative 500. Okay, I'm cold.
And being from Chicago, I can be the tough man around them. Like, I'm wearing shorts, I'm wearing a t-shirt, and I see like my colleagues coming in jackets and jeans, and I'm like, okay, now I'm the tough guy here. Hey, you delicate little rose petal, you little chili there, turn on your heat last night in the house. You delicate flower. And they're like, all right, Dan, we get it. You're from up north. You're much tougher than we are. Yes, I am. And then on top of that, the coffee, black. I'll just have it black. Just walk around with my black coffee.
But that's not delicious.
I don't need it to be delicious. I need it to keep me going throughout the day.
But don't you want it to be delicious and keep you going throughout the day?
I can do without the sugar. I can switch off. And when I do the sugar, because I get it from Wawa's, and I want to be sponsored by Wawa's so much, because I could recommend their coffee all fucking day, all the different ones. So Wawa's, if you're listening, I will brought to you by this fucking coffee. That's just a sample. I would obviously curse during it.
Brought to you by Wawafi. Well, I like my stuff very, very sweet.
You're from the South?
This is true. Our sweet tea is very sweet. We said old family saying, but not really, just my mom saying this. You can always tell if it's Southern sweet tea if you can stick the spoon in and it sticks straight up because there's so much sugar.
That's diabetes in a cup, essentially. All right, so we actually have more Netflix stuff.
We do.
And this was actually inspired by Maceo on Twitter, at Mace the Murderer. He was letting us know...
Was he part of making a murder? Because he's Mace the Murderer.
He should have taken that Twitter handle before that show came out. He should have.
Making a Mace the Murderer.
He was telling us which titles were actually coming off of Netflix, and he pointed out American Psycho, because I love that movie, and a lot of my close friends know that I love that film. So I was like, you know what, why don't we do once a month, we'll talk about what is coming off of Netflix and what's actually coming to Netflix during the month. So I think that's good. I think it's fun. A lot of people have Netflix, and it gives us a chance to recommend TV shows and movies. Obviously, the list is absolutely massive, with Netflix getting all kinds of contracts and a lot of works coming in and out of the service. So here are some of the highlights that we enjoyed, or that we're sad to see leave during the month of January 2016.
So first off, we're going to start with what's new on Netflix for January 2016. These are new titles and contract renewals with Netflix.
So Amadeus, it's from '84, I believe.
Great movie.
Excellent movie. It is an example of when a soundtrack can marry perfectly with the events on screen. And it's appropriate because it is about Mozart. Huge story about him and this supposed murder of the character, which is embellished based on history because that's we don't really know that. It was
Stephen Avery. Stephen Avery did it.
And it is one of my all-time favorite movies. You can watch it on Netflix, and it is not the director's cut, which unfortunately is the one I ended up getting. It's a little too long, and some of the scenes were cut for a reason. So the one you're getting on Netflix is the theatrical cut and the better version.
If you guys had any doubts about the acting in this movie, the year it came out, I believe 2 of the actors were actually nominated for Best Leading Actor. And if they had just made one of them supporting, like, they both would have won. But unfortunately, they both were nominated for leading, and one of them did actually end up winning. But it's amazing. You ride the highs and the lows, and it's a long-ass movie, but you don't even feel it. That
situation reminded me of Silence of the Lambs with Sir Anthony Hopkins and Buffalo Bill, in which... See, and it's evidence that I don't know the actor's name because he should have won because he did such an amazing role as Buffalo Bill. I'm not discrediting Anthony Hopkins at all, but to put on such a crazy... To tuck your dick in between your legs and then do this dance in the mirror, take some fucking balls, and he wanted to do it, and the director's like, we don't have to do it just because it's in the book. He wanted to do it, let's just film it, and then we'll see if it's great. And he fucking did it, and the director said, all right, well, we're keeping that in there. That was amazing. So that shit is another unfortunate injustice on these Academy Awards because if you have an Academy Award, especially during that time, you're set for life on roles. You know, who doesn't want to put you in a movie where you can say Academy Award winning Kelly?
Emperor
Palpa Kelly, yeah.
Academy Award winner. My job just keeps getting better and better.
There's also the Bring It On films.
Now, granted, okay, so when Daniel told me about this list, he said I included things that maybe you could talk about, and I'm assuming that's why you put Bring It On here.
I put it in because one of my best friends, Riggs, loves these movies. He likes every single one of them, and I thought it was a joke when he first told me, but then at his house, he owned them all on DVD, and I said, holy shit. All right, I guess you do like Bring It On. So I'm going to let him know that these movies are now on Netflix, so he doesn't have to get up off his chair. He could just turn on the PS4 and go on Netflix and play his favorite movies.
Encourage people to be more lazy. That's fine.
There's a magic, Kelly, to just being able to press a couple of buttons and pull up your collection of digital movies and clicking on them. I'll tell you, I'm the biggest supporter of physical media, but it's pretty nice to just be like, you know what?
How lazy we are.
It's similar. It's definitely a first world convenience thing. Absolutely, I agree. But it's similar to when you're flipping through television and you own the movie, but then let's say Independence Day comes on television. You're going to sit there and you're going to watch it through the commercials, even though you own it, and you could just put it in and go to the part without the commercials. No, you have to sit there and watch it in cable.
Anyway, so we have Bring It On, In It to Win It, and Bring It On, Fight to the Finish. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty interested in these when I was younger, and then at the same time that Disney Channel movie came out, what was it called? I don't even remember. And they went, Si se puede! Do you remember that movie?
I have not.
And then they danced, they were a cheer team, and then they have the teacher with bright orange hair, it was clearly a wig. Somebody out there's gotta know. Let me know on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke. I don't remember the name of this movie, but they all went, Si se puede!
How's that relate to Bring It On?
Because it was a dance movie. Yes, they're both, and they came out at like the same time. And since Bring It On was like the adult version, I guess, whatever, I don't know, then Disney's like, here, have this kid version. And I'm like, I'll just watch the kid version, whatever.
Same thing, fuck it.
Whatever.
Also, on to superhero movies that are coming on to Netflix this month. And Brokettes are dying to see this. Of course, Catwoman.
Who's not dying to see Catwoman?
You know what? I haven't seen that shit in years. I'm going to watch it just because it's on Netflix.
Pretty sure it's terrible.
And I know it's awful. I did not like it when I saw it. And I said, I don't need to see this again. But then fucking, 10 years later, I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking watch it again.
I feel like I watched 10 minutes of it and decided it just wasn't for me.
You may have to see this just to see how awful it is. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, and it's on Netflix. You're not paying anything extra. You're paying so that Catwoman can be on your service every month.
Another movie that is also pretty bad, Constantine.
This came out when I was in high school, and I remember liking it back then. I liked it enough to where I did end up owning it, and I've seen it. We saw it last year, and yeah, it wasn't any good, and that's, I think, because we understand that Constantine is a better character than what they ended up showing here with Keanu Reeves. Special effects were great. There's nothing wrong with that, and the story was okay. I love Rachel Weisz. She was in this too. But unfortunately, the movie itself, the story, the acting, Keanu Reeves was way off as Constantine.
I feel like I also saw 10 minutes of this and said, no.
Yeah, he was completely flat as Constantine, and that's weird to do with someone as colorful as that.
Right.
There's also another Adam Sandler movie hitting Netflix, and that is Eight Crazy Nights, the only Hanukkah movie I've ever seen.
Is that the one that's all animated?
Yeah, it's all animated. It's for adults.
I've tried watching that like 14 times, and I can't. And I don't like Adam Sandler either, so that's probably part of the problem.
Adam Sandler makes good movies, but some of these that he does for comedy, based on his humor, people go out and see it in droves, but then they won't see some of the smaller films where he tries to be more serious about it, like Punch Drunk Love or Comedians. And this is why he's doing movies like this. And more recently, The Despicable 8 hit Netflix, and it's like, well, that's what he gets paid for. That's what people want to see, so he's going to keep making them.
Another Adam Sandler movie that you did enjoy, though, which will be showing up on Netflix, is Mr. Deeds.
That one's actually getting a contract renewal, so it will be staying on Netflix. And I did like that movie. My favorite scene is still when they throw the tennis ball in court to the blind guy, and it just bounces off his head and makes that noise. When I saw that in theaters, I was laughing for 10 minutes, and my friends were like, all right, Dan, it wasn't that funny. And I just kept remembering that situation.
Those little things, just those little things, crack you up.
The unexpected stuff does crack me up, yeah. Sticking with the comedians, Ben Stiller's huge hit, Meet the Parents, and its sequel, Meet the Fockers, will also be on Netflix. That line, I've got nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? On every single fucking commercial. People still laughed in theaters when they saw it. They were quoting it right after. I remember it being fun. I remember liking it. And yeah, hell yeah, I'll be watching it on Netflix too.
I feel like I saw Meet the Fockers. I never saw Meet the Parents.
Meet the Fockers was... You did that completely differently. Meet the Fockers was bad. Meet the Parents was awesome.
Then you're just going to have to let me watch Meet the Parents.
We're going to watch Meet the Parents. We're still got... You got to watch Rocky still. I got to show you Aliens. On top of that, there's a lot on your list. One that you've probably seen.
No, I have not.
You've not seen this Disney movie? Pooh's Heffalump movie you haven't seen?
No, I haven't seen Pooh's Heffalump movie because Heffalumps are all made up in their heads, number one. And number two, they're enemies. You can't be friends with the Heffalumps because they're enemies. They tried to make this Dumbo-looking asshole be their friend, and I do not approve.
Maybe there's one nice Heffalump out there.
No, it's all made up in his head. The Heffalumps and Woozles are all made up in Pooh's heads when he's having psychedelic dreams.
Aren't they all made up in Christopher Robin's head anyway?
Whatever. I'm just saying that, no, I don't approve of the Heffalump movie.
A classic terror flick, The Shining, from 1980, because there was a remake, made-for-television remake, that was put together and presented and sold as a movie too. But this is the original one from Stanley Kubrick. If you haven't seen The Shining, it is one of those movies you have to see before you die.
We also have Sonic Underground Season 1. I have never seen this either.
Keeps your kids busy. I think Knuckles shows up once or twice, and they're all playing rock and roll, which was cool back then because it's Sonic the Hedgehog, and he always ran to amazing music. Sonic 3 was produced with Michael Jackson doing some of the songs.
That's amazing.
And he's not credited for it because it's part of this deal that they were doing. And yeah, Sonic 3, best soundtrack, so they kind of stuck with that theme when they tried to make this kids show.
And the last one we're going to highlight from our added or renewed to Netflix list is Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation.
This makes me really happy because it's been on Netflix and it's still terrible. Had a crossover with the Power Rangers at one point. It also introduced the first female Ninja Turtle that hasn't appeared in the IDW comic yet because the show was so terrible. But I play it at the comic shop almost as a joke usually. Hey, can you take off My Little Pony? Yeah, no problem. Boom! Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation.
Terrible.
Got you. I even troll when I play Netflix.
Got you, bitch.
It's like, look, they're turtles. They're based on comic book characters. It's legit. I can play it.
Legitly horrible.
As some may want it to leave, but here is our list of highlights for what's actually leaving Netflix this month. Some of which has already gone, and some of which is leaving by the end of the month.
First up is A Clockwork Orange.
Another very important movie, one that you have to see before you die. Also Kubrick, and also really, really good. If you can find a way, someone has it, you can borrow it from someone, definitely check it out. Also American Psycho 1 and 2. This upset me because I immediately went to Netflix. I'm like, shit, now I have a chance to watch American Psycho 2. I know it's no good and it's not as good as the first one, but I still want to see it because some of what happens to Patrick Bateman is told in the sequel, and it's in the very first 10 minutes of the movie, and I wanted to see that. I know I can see it on YouTube, but I want to see the whole movie. But more importantly, American Psycho 1, one of my all-time favorite movies, now gone from Netflix.
Aww. Next, we have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is not Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which was the Jack Sparrow. Not Jack Sparrow.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the new one.
It is?
Yes,
And Willy Wonka is the old one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I got that all backwards. Nobody listened to me.
It's good that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is gone because the classic Willy Wonka is still the better of the two movies.
Agreed.
Sorry, Tim Burton. Your best years are behind you.
Something we're very sad to see go is Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
It was on there for a good year or two, and yeah. The whole series is available on Blu-ray. You can buy Justice League Unlimited in its entirety, and Justice League Seasons 1 and 2, those are sold separately, so they haven't done a complete package yet, just because they do know that once it comes off of Netflix, there's going to be a spike on Blu-ray sales to try to get that show.
We're also saying goodbye to Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Video game movies. It made a lot of money when it released, believe it or not. It also
I remember, everybody talked about it. I, again, never saw it.
had Daniel Craig in it.
Yeah.
With an awful American accent.
Good for him. There's also Mission Impossible 1 and 2.
I've never seen either one.
Me either.
I think I saw Mission Impossible 3. Didn't care for it.
Their mission to stay on Netflix is impossible.
Good. Rocky 1 through 5. All of them were on Netflix, and I just discovered it recently, and the next day I said, alright, Kelly, we're going to watch Rocky 1, and it was gone. Completely gone.
Adios.
So, gonna have to find it elsewhere.
There Will Be Blood. Great movie.
Daniel Day-Lewis. He won an Academy Award for this one.
Yes.
And well-deserved. We saw it in theaters, and as soon as I got home, I pre-ordered it on Blu-ray because I had to have it. It's such a great performance from Daniel Day-Lewis. The story is awesome. Just his descent into madness is so fun to watch, especially with a strong actor like him.
And he loves milkshakes.
He will drink your milkshake.
Yes, he will.
Another DC show leaving, very beloved among fans, and that is Young Justice.
Oh, Young Justice.
Young Justice Invasion never made its way to Netflix, but Young Justice was on there. And I'm sure a lot of kids liked it, and many people discovered these shows through Netflix.
I feel like I didn't watch it as much as I should, and or I haven't read as much fan fiction of it as I should have.
And we don't own it on Blu-ray.
And we don't any of those things.
So we're not contributing to Young Justice's future.
I will read fan fiction and contribute to his future. That I will throw myself on that grenade for everyone. I will just read all the fan fiction. I won't read all the fan fiction. Never mind. I retract that statement.
Another Ben Stiller movie is Zoolander.
I didn't even know this was on here. I would have watched this like 14 times.
I became painfully aware of how much people loved Zoolander by the time the first trailer to Zoolander 2 released. On Facebook, everyone went nuts.
Yep.
And I'm like, Zoolander wasn't really that good, guys.
It was so
I'm
funny.
sorry. Crucify me, but
You're dead now.
David Bowie was good.
David Bowie was great. He was judging stuff. They were pulling underwear out of their pants. I don't even know what was happening.
Another one leaving is Stan Lee's Superhumans, which it was a weird show. He went around the country and they set him up with meetings to people that were slightly magnetic so they can pick up spoons with their hands or their tummies, or they had like an electrical charge running through them at all times, or they can control their temperature at will. Little things like that are technically, I guess, superhuman and weird, but you weren't going to see actual superheroes running around or anything, and it's fine. It can go away.
And lastly, An Idiot Abroad.
Yeah, this is the Ricky Gervais documentary in which he sends his buddy Carl Pilkington, who's such a weird guy because he looks at things through a different scope that none of us would think of. And initially you think, well, he's an idiot by the things that he says, but then there is some subtle brilliance to some of the weird objections he has. So they send them around the world to these different countries, these different cultures, and they make him do these different things and hit a bucket list of places that he has to visit. And they're always miserable experiences for him because that's where the entertainment from Carl Pilkington comes from.
If you guys missed out on this show, I am so sorry because it was so funny. And it was beautiful as well because, again, he's going to all these different places that people have on their bucket lists that he doesn't want to go to. He didn't want to go meet gorillas. He didn't want to go visit this remote temple on some Himalayan mountain. So just watching him complain the whole time is absolutely hilarious, and the things he gets into. And where was it? Brazil, where he met that man?
He got tricked into going into a gay beach, and then they put him in they cross-dressed him on top of that, and at the end he says, I make a pretty good-looking lady. He compliments himself.
No, Carl.
He was impressed by himself. It was great.
So those are our highlights of things that are coming to Netflix and unfortunate things that are leaving Netflix. Like we said, we're going to try and do this every single month so you guys can be emotionally prepared for what's going to come. And hopefully we'll be better prepared to watch these things that we love before they leave again.
Let us know if you like that Netflix segment on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke or Facebook.com/The Reasons I'm Broke. Hopefully you and I are all more educated on what we can enjoy next on Netflix. We've got an update on that Disney money, on that Star Wars money, as it creeps up on the various records out there.
So as of Thursday morning, Star Wars The Force Awakens has surpassed Frozen's $1.29 billion by sitting at over $1.54 billion. It will inevitably beat Avatar's North American box office record, but Avatar still holds the worldwide record of $2.78 billion.
So on Wednesday, December 30th alone, the movie earned $36.7 million.
That's crazy.
Right after Christmas, people are taking their family members still before they go back to town. Hey, let's go see Star Wars. I wanted to see it. I'll see it again, sure. I have people on Facebook that are on their third viewing for this movie.
I haven't even seen it once.
No, you haven't. And I've only seen it the one time. Okay. Not that it was fine, but now I'm not going to see it 3 times like I am Batman v Superman, on the other hand, so...
So all of this makes Star Wars The Force Awakens the 6th highest grossing movie of all time.
We do want to point out that adjusting for inflation, 1939's Gone with the Wind stands tall at $6.65 billion. Not a record that they're going to break.
That's amazing. That will never be broken. And I'm still so blown away that that movie made that much money. Like, yes, it was a good fucking movie, but it made so much money.
Gone with the Wind, though, arguably is better than Frozen, Avatar, Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Yes, but people are into gimmicky things now. Can I say, though... I will say something regarding Star Wars. I have not had a single person spoil it.
That's crazy. I almost don't believe it.
I have not heard a single person spoil it. I have not had anybody accidentally talk about it in front of me. None of that. And I hear people talking about it all the time. Like, oh, did you see it? Yeah, it was really cool. And then that's it. When they're in the presence of other people, they don't talk about it. And I'm just blown away. And I've had people come to me like, oh, have you seen it? And I was like, no, I haven't the opportunity yet. And they're like, well, let me know when you did so we can talk about it. And there's just, like, I don't know. It makes me so happy.
That is pretty awesome. And I hope people have the same consideration, at least the people that are around you, for movies that you actually do want to see in the future, like Suicide Squad or Batman v Superman. But those we're not taking any chances with. We're going Thursday night, seeing those fucking movies, enjoying them, hopefully. But none of this comes as all good news. As we all know, we love Nerd Rage Reactions. That is our segment on the podcast every week where we highlight an illogical quote, an angry quote from someone out there who is not happy with the news, whatever it may be.
So we asked you, Brokettes, to help us make up a Nerd Rage Reaction jingle. But in the meantime, we do have something... to take place of that. First person to come up with one, you win a grand prize.
We're not guaranteeing that we're going to use it, though. They could send us whatever file.
That'd be awesome.
If not, I may use this one forever. People seem to really like it. So it's different every week, too, because we have to build up. And this time it's your turn.
Oh, man. I don't know that I can do this. This is too
3
much.
words. Go for it.
Like...
You're Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, screaming...
Kakarot! Do I get to use my Vegeta voice?
Do it.
This is so exciting. Nerd Rage Reaction!
The sound effects are already in there.
I know, but I added more.
So here's the quote. I still can't believe that Avatar made so much money for such a generic, mediocre film. Something has to dethrone that pretender.
It didn't make money. It made dollar.
You know who the pretender is? This person, because I bet you they fucking paid to go see Avatar.
Oh, yeah. In 3D
Everyone saw
IMAX.
fucking Avatar. People forget that, and they're acting now like, well, fuck Avatar, that has to lose. It's like, well, hold on, you probably contributed to the Avatar's
and then you probably
worldwide
talked
record.
about how great it was and how there was nothing like it.
And the 3D, and it was, you have to see it in 3D. You could only see it in 3D.
Yeah.
And now they're pretending like, fuck the Avatar, and even though Disney bought that shit for a ton of money, which they maybe shouldn't have.
They'll make it work. I mean, they're incorporating it into Animal Kingdom. They'll make tons of money.
This angry nerd needs to realize that you don't make money based on how good the movie is. It's how you market it, how you can catch an audience. The movie could be shit for all you know, and it could still make a ton of money, as people apparently have figured out with Avatar. And maybe they're going to say the same thing about Star Wars The Force Awakens if it does break Avatar's record. It still hasn't opened in China, so it has a chance to. But then in, 10 years, maybe they'll say, oh, fuck, The Force Awakens, this other movie should be the record. And still, I'm glad Gone with the Wind actually has the record.
Right. Nerds and their silly nerd rage. But keeping with our Star Wars and nerd rage news.
Real quick, you know why I like the Star Wars stuff?
Yeah.
It gets more listens. You just put Star Wars in the tags, and people are like, oh, I want to hear about Star Wars.
So just tag Star Wars forever, and then at the end we'll go, and Star Wars.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Star Wars, Kelly. And
All right. So what do we have on Star Wars and Disney?
on Star Wars and Disney and Nerd Rage, George Lucas has issued an apology for the recent comments he made towards the company over the new direction of Star Wars.
In an interview back in November by Charlie Rose, Lucas compared Disney to, quote, white slavers, end quote, over how Star Wars was treated.
Oh, George Lucas. No. Oh, no.
I saw the interview, and you can tell he tries to laugh it off, because he's like, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have. How many dollars do they put on your check?
They paid him a lot of fucking money for Star Wars.
Yeah.
They're going to make more money than they paid him.
Granted, yes. But you need to keep your mouth shut, because Disney will destroy you.
And they did, because in his apology, Lucas stated the following:
I have been working with Disney for 40 years and chose them as the custodians of Star Wars because of my great respect for the company and Bob Iger's leadership. Disney is doing an incredible job of taking care and expanding the franchise. I rarely go out with statements to clarify my feelings, but I feel it is important to make it clear that I am thrilled that Disney has the franchise and is moving it in such exciting directions in film, television, and the parks.
That was written by Disney.
Yes,
they
it
wrote
was.
That shit.
They did.
They said, not only are you going to apologize for what you said, you're also going to advertise all of our things that make us money, and you're gonna advertise the fact that Bob Iger is the greatest man on the earth. That's going to be in your apology.
Yes.
And you're going to be fucking grateful about it. And this is what you're going to say.
Yep.
Or we're going to sue you, or we're going to do something to you.
Because I'm sure there was something in the contract that he could not say that.
Yeah, if a breach from contract, they could easily sue him for that fucking money right back.
Of course.
These opportunities, these things happen so few and far between that I swim in these quotes in which they're clearly written by someone, a lawyer, some PR representative. All of that is perfect in a thing like this. And this summarizes what can go wrong, but what can go right for Lucas, because this could have been so much worse.
Oh, yeah, of course. But I think at the same time, Disney realizes that he's very important to that franchise, too. If they have just Star Wars and they take out George Lucas's name because they just, write him off, then there's still that small market that they're probably going to lose. His name carries a lot of weight, even though he kind of murdered the last 3 movies, but whatever.
Even with those movies, he said with the new one, it's not what he would have done, because it's a fan movie, is what he called it, a movie for Star Wars fans. And he's not looking to just please the fans, he's looking to tell his story that he wanted with his characters. And that's why people didn't enjoy overall the prequels. But he said that's always what he's been doing, is he's always just wanted to tell the story of these characters, and it just so happened that the original 3 movies were better received than the prequels that followed it.
Well, this fan movie's making him money, so calm down, George
fans
Lucas.
want it, and people are calling it fan service, and that's fine with a lot of people. That's what they wanted.
So last week we talked about how we got the new DLC for Batman Arkham Knight. And the only one we hadn't played was the Ra's al Ghul Shadow War DLC, and we did get the opportunity to finish that this week.
That's the one that I was saving for last, because when you go on the map for Arkham Knight, it gives you the option of going to one of the 4 DLC story places. Somewhere in the map you can go. And you can do them in any order. There's not anything that's required. Like, first you have to do the Mad Hatter one before you do the Mr. Freeze one. Nothing like that. So I saved Ra's al Ghul, and I did want to touch on it because of the story again. You had heard 2 episodes ago, we talked about Mr. Freeze and how they gave him a whole new ending that we hadn't seen before with Ra's al Ghul. And spoilers if you haven't beaten Arkham City or the DLC, that's your warning right there. With Arkham City, Ra's al Ghul falls from the top of, I forget which tower it was, but that's where Hugo Strange resided. And he fell on a spike. You return back to that location and his body's gone, which makes sense because it's Ra's al Ghul. Someone's gonna take him back to the Lazarus Pit and try to revive him. And that's where this immediately picks up. You see this giant hole in his body that's healing, and he's hooked up to this Lazarus Pit machine that doesn't have the pure essence of the Lazarus Pit. So Batman has to go and find it and track it down if he wants Ra's al Ghul to live. So you're going through these different puzzles. You finally get to the pit that is in Gotham underground. All along the way, Pennyworth is telling you, sir, it's fine if you don't save him. It's not the same as killing him. And Batman says, no, Alfred, I can't do that. And he's wrestling with the fact of, well, do I want to save Ra's al Ghul? Maybe I don't give him the pit and he just dies, or he destroys the machine and doesn't let Ra's al Ghul come back to life. He's very weakened. Ra's is clearly alive. It's not just his body in a tube or anything. And his League of Assassins are helping him out with it. But along the way, you meet Talia's sister, Ra's other daughter. And she's against Ra's al Ghul, and she wants to take over as the new head of League of Assassins. But she wants nothing to do with Gotham. She has nothing to do with Ra's older mission. She understands that he was insane and just wants to leave Gotham, but wants to ensure that Ra's al Ghul doesn't come back. So this is where the parallels come to Batman, because on one end, he could just let Ra's al Ghul die, but on the other, it's Batman. Why would he let any of his villains die? And that's where the dilemma comes to a head when you finally get to the end of this portion of the mission, this bit of DLC, where the game gives you the option. Do you give Ra's al Ghul the Lazarus Pit essence that he needs, the juice, to plug into his machine and help him heal, or do you destroy it and his machine and take on the League of Assassins?
I think you and I were split in the decision of what we should have done at the end, too. Both, I feel, are kind of bad endings, though. There's obviously one that the game wanted you to choose. And so what we did is we made one decision. I don't want to spoil it for whoever still has to play this, or, maybe you're getting the Game of the Year edition whenever that comes out, which hopefully will include all of this DLC. But both kind of end badly. Just one's a little less bad than the other.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The game designers did set it up so that they pretty much went, this is the real ending, kind of like with Azrael, when you choose to try to stab Batman or not. When you don't stab Batman, Batman says, oh, we're going to work together in the future, and they shake hands and Azrael leaves. And when you do the other one, Batman takes down Azrael and puts him in a jail cell, and you could visit him later. That's what they wanted you to do, but it's not the case with what we ended up doing. We're like, no, let's fucking work with Batman. Why not? And with the Ra's al Ghul DLC, I ended up making the decision that I felt was correct, and that was Batman saving Ra's, because Batman will always, he would have saved the Joker in Arkham City. So even if you were to keep in line with, well, this is a different Batman, fine, this is Arkham Asylum Batman, he would have saved the Joker in Arkham City, who he despises more than Ra's al Ghul, hence he would have saved Ra's al Ghul too. But then that's the bad ending, because awful things happen if you save Ra's al Ghul, which didn't make any sense to me. Batman could have written this so much better, and I wasn't satisfied with either ending, because then if you don't save him, it's very un-Batman-like. It's what Alfred would have wanted, but yeah, there's things that happen. There's action afterward, no matter what decision you make, but neither is satisfying, as you said.
Overall, did I enjoy it? Yeah, I did. It was cool to see Ra's again.
Would you have given the players a decision with this portion with Ra's al Ghul, or would you have just said, this is what Batman would have done in this situation, and this is how it's going to play out.
I think I would have given them a decision, because in that way you're kind of shaping Batman to be a little bit more the Batman that they really want, that the player really wants him to be.
Well, fuck that, because Batman needs to be Batman the way he always is.
Okay, cool. So you made Batman the way that he always was when you
And that's how he should play in the game. Batman would not let Ra's al Ghul die. True or false? Would he not let Ra's al Ghul die? Batman the Animated Series is the ultimate Batman, yes?
I'm just gonna take a sleep.
Would he have let Ra's al Ghul die?
Shh. Oh, I woke up. Were we talking about things? So let me look at the next point on this.
We were discussing it. Would he let him die? Yes or no?
I would have given Batman a choice in all of this DLC.
You yourself, though, I'm asking you, would Batman have let... Batman Begins, the worst part about it for me still, is when he doesn't save Ra's as the train is going into the parking garage. And it's my favorite of the live-action Batman movies. I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. Fuck that, you do have to save him. You have to save Liam Neeson. Put him in Arkham in jail. I don't care if the argument is, well, he's just going to get out. Batman does not care, because they'll just put him right back in. That's the whole thing about Batman. Arkham is a revolving door, and his job is to put him right back in the asylum.
You know what this DLC taught us? Would you like to know what this DLC taught us?
Yeah.
Sometimes good things don't happen. Even when you make the right choice, sometimes bad things happen. Even when you make the wrong choice, bad things still happen. That is what this DLC taught us.
Even with the bad DLC, or even with the bad ending, they didn't give Ra's al Ghul any good lines with Batman. He's cool, he's alive, and he fucking pieces out. And there's no, like... With Ra's al Ghul, such an amazing character and such an amazing relationship with Batman, there should have been more to it. So to me, I was disappointed with what I felt should have been an awesome part of the story.
Well, I'm sorry. I will not make you any more Batman DLC then.
Now we move forward into the annual comic book news, and this comes straight out of Diamond Comic Distributors, who give out they're the middleman to every comic shop.
Who give out?
You pay them money, they give you comics, they get it from the publisher, and then they sell it to comic shops everywhere. They're the biggest middleman out there in the world of comics, and they've announced the winners to its annual GEM Awards.
So these were voted on by retailers who work with Diamond. The award recognizes sales achievements for publishers, industry executives, and creators.
So if you own a comic book shop, you've got a vote. If you sell comics and get comics from Diamond, you have a vote. And this is what they've decided, aside from a couple of sales-based awards, which ones were the best in each category. So we're going to go over some of the highlights, not the entire thing of the awards, but some of the ones that we felt were more important. And the biggest one was Comic Publisher of the Year. It went to Image Comics for the third year in a row.
You could have announced that a little bit better.
You're the fan of Saga, you can announce it.
Yes. And the Comic Publisher of the Year goes to... Image Comics!
DC Comics last held a record from 2009 to 2012, with Marvel last winning in 2008.
Take that, Marvel.
We'll take that, both of them, because Image is winning this award for 3 years now.
Yeah, because of Saga. Okay, thanks.
Saga, Paper Girls, the trend is going more towards the independent books.
Good. I approve. This is Pulp approved. Next, we have the Backlist Publisher of the Year. What does backlist mean? Back issues, so older issues. Wonderful. And the winner is... DC Comics! They've had an initiative in the past year to make back issues available for at least a year after the comic has released. That's awesome. And not for every title, but for a lot of them. So stuff like Harley Quinn, which does continually sell, it's great for comic shops because they can try to get those older issues and get them into the hands of customers. Yeah, there's more being printed, but with the sales that have been with DC Comics, it's still not as many as are printed, let's say, on the Marvel side or with Image's bigger books. So it's just awesome that they make those available for everyone out there. Next, we have the Top Dollar Comic Book Publisher of the Year, and the award goes to... Marvel Comics! I'm going to do that for all of these, and you have a lot on here. Marvel Comics has sold the most out of all the three. That's who it went to. They're top dog right now. Those movies really help. Next, we have the Manga Publisher of the Year. Viz Media! Viz Media, guys. Yeah, but they Good do. For Viz Media.
They do the Pokemon manga
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff out there, so
and
good on them.
others. Can you tell we do not purchase manga frequently or ever? Next is Game Manufacturer of the Year, and the award goes to Wizards of the Coast.
Big on all the HeroClix players out there.
Oh, what else do they do?
I think they do Dice Masters also.
Okay, good for them. Our next category is Toy Manufacturer of the Year, and our winner is... Stop laughing at me, I'm having fun with this. Funko!
Those funkin' Funko Pops
Those funkin' Funko Pops.
are all over the place. We
Yeah,
went
they
to
are.
Sports Authority the other day, and they were there.
Were they really?
They were at Sports Authority. They were at Walgreens.
They're at 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. They were all over the place.
Good for Funko.
I think they're done. Like, this is the most popular that Funko Pops are going to be. So to the guy that sold it over to the Spencer's company, good on him, because he sold it at the height of popularity.
Yeah, he did. He's like, give me that money, I'm done.
Retired.
Next we have Comic Book of the Year under $3, and the winner is... You thought I was going to miss it this time. Paper Girl #1! This is by Image Comics.
Great comic. We love
Yeah,
it. It's
great.
an awesome series. Well deserved. Don't see a lot of books under $3 of that quality.
Am I the only one announcing these?
I'm going to announce it, but I'm not going to make a
No,
huge...
then stop. I'll do it. Comic of the Year over $3, and the winner is... Something DC! Oh no, guys, I apologize. I was making a Miss Universe reference and it didn't work. Sorry. So the winner is actually Star Wars #1 by Marvel Comics.
I thought my comic shop over-ordered on these, and apparently they did not, because once the movie came out, everyone was looking for Star Wars #1. Sure, it was months later, but sold through them all. Sold extremely well, probably the best-selling comic of last year. So that's Star Wars #1. Fine, I'll give it a shot for this next one. And the award for licensed comic of the year goes to Rick and Morty from Oni Press.
See, wasn't it fun?
It was a little fun.
It was super fun. I don't know who Rick and Morty are.
Based on an animated TV show. It does sell really well. Oni
Yeah?
Press, they've done Jingle Bell from Paul Dini, so
Yeah.
I love Oni Press.
Awesome. Next we have Best New Comic Book Series, and the winner goes to Paper Girls by Image Comics.
That's 2 awards
Yeah,
now
good for
Paper Girls.
Good for Paper Girls. Well deserved.
Couple more here. We've got Best All Ages Series, and that it goes to
Lumberjanes!
from Boom Studios. Boom Studios is trying really hard to get into the comic book market, and good on them. Lumberjanes is awesome, and of course Giant Days is really, really good.
Next we have Best Original Graphic Novel, and the award goes to...
Batman Earth 1 Volume 2 from DC Comics.
I am shaking my head. That was not an announcement.
That's my announcement. That's the way I said it, and that's by Jeff Johns.
That's a lame announcement.
And I haven't read it yet. Sad to say, have not read Volume 2. This is the one that had the representation of Alfred that people really like, and that is the badass Alfred. The one that we see now in Gotham where he's
Yes.
military trained and he's
Yes.
tough on Bruce.
Super cool. And our last award goes to Collectible Statue of the Year. And the winner is... DC Comics Bombshells Joker and Harley Quinn statue from DC Collectibles. Woo!
That bitch just came out. So
Yeah.
I don't know how it won. People just voted on it and they loved it.
Good for them. It's awesome. I really liked it. Fortunately, we're too broke to purchase it, but...
Yeah, we are, but that is Diamond Comic Distributors and what retailers voted on each one based on sales, based on books that they really enjoyed. Obviously, our list would have looked way more different.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Way more DC Comics
There would
because
have
we are
been
DC fans.
a lot more Saga on there. And a lot less Marvel things.
But let's analyze this for a second.
Yeah.
Do you see 2016 being an even bigger year for independent comics? Are comic book readers getting tired of the same superhero stuff, the same trends, superheroes in general?
That's a tough one because we do have Batman v Superman coming out this year. So I think that's going to blow up DC stuff when that comes out. Do we have Suicide Squad this year too?
Yeah, we do.
So those are two huge things that are going to pull people in. I mean, we saw it with Marvel when their superhero movies started coming out. We're going to see it with DC. And so you're probably going to have the people who are reading Marvel comics are now reading DC too, and then a whole group of people who are still just reading DC. That being said, I do think the indie comics are starting to get bigger. They have great stories, and there's always a possibility that people get into these superhero comics, and then somebody in the shop says, hey, this is really good too, you should check this out, and then now they're hooked on that. So, I mean, it's real tough. It's just going to depend on how these movies play out.
The one thing I'm hearing from readers is that they want better stories from the big two. They're disappointed by the big events. They do them so often that it's easier, you have a higher chance of making something shitty because you're putting several big stories out there, and unless you focus on each and every single one, you're not going to nail them all. And if you're just putting them out there like, hey, let's put out a $5, a $6 comic book as many times as we can and just making an event book, that's where it's going to fail, and that's where people are going to see through it, and eventually you're going to wear them thin.
That being said, also, I think it's easier in some ways for these indie books to put out better stories. The indie books, I mean, I feel have a higher chance of picking up somebody who comes to them and says, hey, I have this story that I want to tell. Beyond that, you also, with these new characters, have the ability to really be able to focus on them and grow them and have people go on that very human journey with these characters, whereas you can't really do that in some of these superhero books because that story's already been told. You know, where how many years into the New 52 now, we've seen Batman's growth up to this point. You know, how much more can you really squeeze out of that? Whereas with Saga, we're on this huge journey with these characters that we don't know, who have a bunch of facets that we still don't know about and can still learn.
That's exactly correct, too. On top of that is these writers have to stay in a certain area with the characters that they can't take too many chances with. They have these editors that say, no, well, Batman can't actually do that because it's out of character and you have to stay within this very strict guidelines to what you can do with the characters. And hats off to people like Scott Snyder that can try to make something fresh out of it and retell the Batman story, or Jimmy and Amanda Palmiotti who can do something fun with Harley Quinn without messing too much with the history of the character. So there's ways to do it, but like you said, there's way more restrictions when you work for DC or Marvel than there are if you have your own original story that you have to present.
They also have the limitations of, so you have the editors saying this isn't in character, but then you also have the readers who would read it and say, well, this isn't in character, so I'm going to drop the book because now it's not my character anymore. It's just much, much more difficult, and yes, there are great stories that can be told because we've seen it, but the amount of time and effort I think you would have to put into it to make those same kind of heartfelt stories that you get with these indie books, it's just a million times harder.
And we do have a comic book review coming your way. We hope you enjoyed the Diamond Comic Distributors Awards. Whether or not you agreed with what their best publisher was or what their best comic of the year was, you can sound off on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke, Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke. But first, we've got our Patreon shout-out of the week.
This week, it goes out to Christopher, whose Twitter handle is at @TheIrishOnFire.
Huge thanks to Christopher, big supporter of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast and other podcasts out there that are growing and really ramping up as they grow their audience. So he's always retweeting tons of people, tons of podcasts, and is a huge support to the Reasons I'm Broke.
For those of you who say, hey, this Patreon thing sounds pretty cool, because it is, guys, and you want to jump on board for a donation as little as $1 a month. So that's only 25 cents an episode. That doesn't even include all of our unboxings and Let's Plays that we put up throughout the month also. You could have your very own Patreon shout out on our show.
That's right. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly support us.
Less than a Kelli cup of coffee? Because that's like $6 now.
Yeah, that's true. Which would be which for less than a Kelli cup of coffee.
Yes.
You can also get the special decal every 3 months from decalavenue.net.
For this decal, we do put up polls, so you guys will get to vote and choose on what the decal theme should be.
And with that decal, you also include the reward at the $1 mark. So at the minimum of $1 a month, you get the episode a couple days early, a couple hours early, whatever it may be, depends on when we get to record and edit. But you will get a special link to the episode before everyone else. The show normally goes out on Sundays at noon Eastern Time, but for you as a Patreon supporter, you will always get it first.
All your donation does is help us make a better show for you. So right now, the goal we're trying to hit will just cover the base cost of putting out the show every single month. Our next tier that we're trying to reach will actually get you alphonic audio quality for every single show.
Yeah, it's awesome. It levels out the show and essentially makes a better quality podcast for you guys as far as the technical side of it. So that's through Alphonic. And if you do want to become a patron to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, just head on over to patreon.com/The Reasons I'm Broke.
However, we say it every single week and it will never change. Our podcast will always be free. We do this because we enjoy interacting with you guys and talking about the things that we love with all of you. So don't feel pressured to give us money, but do feel pressured to give us money. And keep on listening, and most importantly, just interact with us on Twitter, on Facebook, on iTunes, wherever you have access to, and let us know what you think of the show and the things that you love also.
We don't often review indie books unless it's your saga that comes out monthly if you're lucky. But this time we are going to cover Giant Days number 10 from Boom Studios, which did win an award through the GEM Awards. This is written by John Allison with art by Max Sarin and colors by Whitney Kogar.
We haven't talked about this book in a while. It started out as, I believe, a 6-issue miniseries, and we're so happy it continued on because this is probably one of the realest comics that I've ever read. It's lighthearted. It follows college students somewhere in Europe, in England.
I thought it was in the U.S., but it could be in England.
It's definitely not in the U.S. because there's too many references to not U.S. things. But it follows these students as they go through typical student-y things, and I don't think there's a character in there that I don't love.
In Giant Days number 9, you saw what happens when and it's not a kid's book, just a heads up, even though the artwork is sort of what would maybe be in an all-ages section. The issue number 9, for example, was following one of the students, one of the characters who lasted 30 seconds in bed, and then it gets around to the rest of the students, and he's embarrassed by it. And all of that still continues throughout the future issues, because there's a reference to that in issue number 10.
Yep.
Because there is a portion where it does focus on him, but it's not like, well, let's make fun of this character. Look at him. No, it shows that it goes deeper to that. You feel for him, you feel for the people around him, his friends too. And in this case, what happens when you get into a relationship with someone that has a child with someone previous to when they met you, and someone that is in college also, and who is trying to fit into the college life, but in the background she does have this child and is trying to be a good parent at the same time.
The thing that I pulled away from this issue, and again I keep touching on very real and human things because it's actually something that I face occasionally, is how do you interact with friends, particularly high school friends, where you haven't seen them in a while, you're both living separate lives, and you're having to go back, you're getting together again, and you realize you're kind of too old and in a place where you can't act like you used to. And we see some characters facing that in this issue, and I think it's something that everybody goes through at one point.
Yeah, that not many people write about, and you don't find it, especially in comic books, unless you're getting Giant Days, and that it's unique in that aspect. The writing is good, the artwork is great, and it's not a book that we plan on stopping at any point. There was a portion of it where it was ending its arc because it was just a miniseries, and that's where it got a little bit weaker because we knew that they were like, okay, we got to expand this. Whatever ending we originally had, we've got to save it for another time or scrap it completely as we rewrite the future of the comic. And thankfully now it's past that point. It's in its ongoing status, and they're just telling stories with these characters, and it's awesome. It's working.
If you guys haven't checked it out, we highly recommend that you do.
So that was our comic book highlight of the week and the podcast for this week. Don't forget to head on over to our all-new website, thereasonsimbroke.com. You can also stream the show through there in case you don't have iTunes or Stitcher or anything like that. We have a player that we placed on thereasonsimbroke.com where you can just bookmark it and go to every single week if you want to listen to the show through that.
You guys can also hit us up on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, or Facebook, just search The Reasons I'm Broke. Let us know what you thought of this episode, a previous episode, not the first episode, please, but let us know what made you broke this week.
And especially what you thought of the new segment with Netflix, if that was helpful to any of you out there as far as, oh cool, I can check this out before they remove it, or awesome, I can add this to my list now, I didn't know that was out yet. Hopefully that helped you guys out, and again, a huge thanks to Maceo who brought up American Psycho and pretty much gave me the idea to put this in every single month.
Before we sign off for the day, I would like to say a possible goodbye forever. By the time this episode airs, I will hopefully be finishing a 26.2 mile run.
Oof.
Or being drug across the 26.2 mile line. I will probably die, but I will be running a marathon this weekend, and that is what made me super broke this week too. Because then you gotta buy pants, and you gotta buy new shoes, and you gotta pay for the marathon. I was a Disney marathon. That shit was not cheap.
That still blows my mind that you have to pay for a marathon.
It's perfect.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking, this is an awful thing, is running miles and I have to pay to do it? Fuck that. I'm not going to lose money and go through this awful experience.
But it's the accomplishment. And then they give you stuff like, okay, so first off, there's exclusive characters I can meet on this run that I can't meet anywhere else. There's 26 miles of characters that I get to meet that I can never meet again. Like if there's a Frollo, I'm stopping. Never going to meet him again. If there's a Scrooge McDuck, I'm stopping. I don't care if I'm like disgusting. I'm be like, yo, Scrooge, take a picture with me, yo. It's going to happen. And then they have to give you like snacks along the way or else you'll crash and die. So they gotta pay for all my Gatorade and my water and my little gels. They have like 4 banana stops.
They got it. Well, that makes sense actually with all the potassium so you don't get cramps and everything.
Of course.
I want it to be like in that Seinfeld episode where someone has a coffee cup and you grab it and accidentally.
Oh no, that will not happen.
We've also got a couple of unboxings and unbaggings coming to our YouTube channel. You can also find a link to that at thereasonsimbroke.com because we include everything on there everywhere you can find us. But we have an unboxing that just went up for the Harley Quinn PVC statue. And also we've got more unbaggings coming, which you guys really enjoy. We get a lot of hits on those and good feedback on them too. So more of the Harley's Little Black Book variants coming your way.
So that'll do it for us this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
We'll see you on the next one.